Hello, this is Bo Wells with LANDESK Software, and today we're going to talk about LANDESK Inventory Management. Specifically, we're going to talk about how LANDESK Inventory Manager can go out and locate those hardware devices in your organization, and also, of course, the software that those hardware devices contain. So first, we are an agent-based solution. That agent needs a method to be able to go out and discover the devices in the organization to be able to go out and deploy that agent out. Of course, you can deploy the agent with other methods like logon scripts and GPOs, but we still want to have that reporting capability of how successful we've been. And with LANDESK, we give you several different options within our unmanaged device discovery section to be able to go out and create scans for LDAP scans, to be able to go out and search in specific OUs within your organization, to be able to bring back a report of what devices have not been managed that are detected within those specific OUs or across those forests. Additionally, we can go out and do subnet scans. So I can go out and supply a number of different subnets in the organization. These probably are not the primary method or the best method to go out and do scans, but it's absolutely something that LANDESK does support. Additionally, built into the LANDESK agent, we have something known as Extended Device Discovery. And what Extended Device Discovery does is it allows for a passive method that's constantly going out and listening in your environment for devices as they plug into your network. Basically, one managed machine that does have an agent on it is listening for new machines to plug in, and then it notifies the LANDESK server that a new device has plugged into the network, and then the LANDESK server can make a decision on whether or not that new device is currently managed or if it needs to be added to the unmanaged device list so that the administrator can make the administrative decision on whether or not an agent gets deployed out to that machine. Now, our agent is available in both an EXE as well as an MSI format, and we have a nice, easy way to be able to deploy that out with an MSI format that is gentle to your network and prevents the need for redundant copying of the actual agent across the network. The intelligence is actually built into the agent. Now, once you have an agent on the machine, it's going to show up within the LANDESK computers list, and that's going to bring back a list of information. We can choose which columns that we want to expose within this view. But if we wanted to find out about the inventory of this specific machine, we can come through. We'll maximize this and take a look. And I can see memory information, for example. I can see the physical memory. So I can see that this specific machine has 2 gigs of memory. We could take a look at the slots on that and see which slots have memory in them, which slots do not. And of course, we could see if we need to remove memory in order to upgrade this device to maybe a Windows 8 or a Windows 10 capability within our organization. Going a step further, of course, when we get into the actual system itself, so I want to know who's the hardware manufacturer, who's the actual vendor, what chassis type is this? Is this a lunchbox? Is this a laptop? Is this a mobile? Is this a desktop? Is this a mini desktop? So we can go through and see all the different form factors and chassis types within the specific environment. This is also where I'll see the serial number, the express service code if you're a Dell customer, the service tag if you're a Dell customer. So we're pulling back all of that information. We're pulling it back in a normalized format in a normalized location. This is important so that when you run reports, you don't have to have one report that shows a listing of all of your Dell service tags and then a separate report for all of your Lenovo and HP serial numbers because they're stored in different locations. With LANDESK, we have that capability to bring those back in a standard location so you can run one report. Additionally, we can go a step further and we can look at the software on this specific machine. Of course, we can go out and pull back the listing of what's in Add and Remove programs, and of course we can pull that information back and we can drill in. So if I want to know more information about any one of these specific items, we can drill in and find out more information about that specific area. Now, this gives me the ability to respond to audits like Microsoft. Microsoft cares about anywhere that the word Microsoft shows up in someone's Add and Remove programs. Whereas Adobe is slightly different. Adobe will give you a list of about 11 executables, and they want to know everywhere that those executables exist within your organization on any machine. So with LANDESK, we can go out and we can run a package report. And as you can see here, we can have a listing of all executables on those machines. And just as we can with add and remove programs, we can go in, drill in, and find out more information about what that specific executable is. So we've now got that information, but neither of those are going to assist me upon an IT asset management strategy. So I need something that's going to consolidate that information and allow me to interpret what licensing is necessary on that specific machine. And as you can imagine, that's what our licensed software section is. Now those previous two sections were far larger than we could read on any one single page. Whereas this is going to give me 3 lines. It's telling me that I need to have a copy of Microsoft Windows Ultimate 64-bit for Windows 7. I need a license for Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2010 and a license for Kaspersky Endpoint Security for Windows 10. So that is a nice, simple way for me to say what licenses that this specific end user needs to own in order for that machine to be compliant with our software asset management strategy. Now that's great for a single device within the organization, but what if we need to know this on more of a grandiose scale across our entire environment? That's when we need to go out and start looking at our licensing reports. So we'll come over. These are web-based reports that we can pull up, and in my organization we are in process of getting audited by Adobe, and we also have a Microsoft Enterprise Agreement coming up, so I'm also going to come down and I'm going to check Microsoft. You'll notice as I do that, these lists are building dynamically, but I'm just going to come over and click Run Report. I also could schedule this report so that it's in my inbox at 9 a.m. every Monday morning, so I'm keeping a constant eye on my software asset management process. And you'll notice the very first thing on this is that everything says Adobe. There's not Adobe Incorporated, Adobe Corp, Adobe Corporation. You don't have to take the report from your management tool and export it to your Excel and normalize it yourself. This is something that your tool set should do for you. So we go out and do that. You'll notice that we not only normalize the vendor name, but we also normalize the product name. So there, of course, are different ways of knowing Microsoft Office. I believe there's 12 in the most recent revision. Depending upon what patch level you're at, it might be called something completely different. With our tool set, we know what it's called in all of its patch levels, and we bring it back in a single reporting method. Now, going a step further, we even go back and tell you, okay, I can see one installation of Adobe Capture version 3 is still out there. That's a really old piece of software. So let's take a look. I can see that that's still on Ashley Hamilton's machine, and she's never used it. And there have been 0 executions of that. So that's probably a good example of a piece of software that's fairly old, most likely out of support, and I need to be able to go back and reclaim that software to remove the risk that it presents both financially as well as from a security standpoint to our organization. So that's an item that we need to go out and look at. Now, of course, if we were to scroll down, we can come down and look at the actual Microsoft products within the organization to see how those reflect. And you'll see that we have Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2010, and right below it, in the exact same naming format, is Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2013. And of course, you'll see we have Project, we have Visio, so we're seeing all of the Microsoft Office suite of products in a nice format to be able to go back and pull that information in. Now this is great, and we can certainly see how this shows me if I'm compliant or not, but where do I track my actual licensing? LANDESK gives you a module for that, and our module is called Software License Monitoring. This is our software asset management tool set. So of course you can see that there are dashboards to be able to go out and see the number one out of compliance application in my organization is 7-Zip, followed by Avamar, followed by Visual Studio, and we can see the risk that it presents to our organization by either a number, or I can come over and I can even put a cost to that as well. If you go out and tell me what it costs within your organization for a license of Visual Studio. As you can see, Visual Studio was well down the list of a quantity standpoint, but it poses the largest financial risk to our organization. Plus could expose us to future Microsoft audits, which could be even more costly. So, of course, lots of reporting to be able to pull this information back. But how do we look at the actual raw data? So I can come back and I can see that on a 3-tier approach within software asset management. First of all, what are we discovering in our organization? So let's take a look at that. And in my organization, I can come over and I can sort by discovered, and I can see the most recent item within our organization is actually a LANDESK Data Analytics content update. But then we also had a new version of Google Chrome that came into our environment, which is version 43. So this is showing me the new applications as they're coming into the environment. Now myself, as a software asset manager for my organization, I need to make a decision on which of the other 2 phases that this goes to. Whether this is going to go to our ignored area because it's not something we care about. We're still going to continue to capture the information in inventory. You'll still have a secure configuration management information database behind all of this, but from a licensing standpoint, I may not care about Google Chrome. Now going a step further, maybe I do. Maybe this is a licensed product in my organization, and at that point in time, I need to move that up to my monitored section. And under my monitored section, this is where I'm actively going out and tracking licensing associated with these individual items. So for example, we can come in to Adobe Acrobat 5. We can come in and take a look at our different versions of 7-zip that we have out there. And we also give you the capability of even having a jump start in this area with LANDESK Data Analytics, where we can come in and provide the actual baseline content for a large number of known applications that most of our customers care about. Your Microsofts, your Adobes, your Autodesks of the world, to be able to go out and have a jump start into this, because we recognize that it is a lot of work to be able to keep this information up to date. So LANDESK content and LANDESK Data Analytics can really help you get along this road. Now a step further, reclamation. There's lots of software in my organization that is not utilized, so I need the ability to come out and pull information back or pull software back in order to remove that risk or to relieve licenses to be used on other individuals' machines that will need to use that software. So we can go out and configure how much time is considered underutilization. And I can go out and say if a piece of software has not been utilized for 90 days, then it is subject to reclamation. Of course, I can exclude specific individuals like executives in your organization. I can select only specific products that I want. And I also can only kick this off as an option if I need the licenses. If I have a surplus of licenses, maybe I just want to leave those items out there within the organization. But I can actually have this trigger, if you want, only when additional licenses are needed or we're in jeopardy of running out of licenses. So lots of configuration and lots of automation around LANDESK software license monitoring. Now, let's take a step back. Let's come back to where we started with the actual inventory of a single device. We even give you the ability to come through and search for items. So if I wanted to know additional information about the actual Kaspersky environment for this, we can come through, do a search, and this is going to take me down to the actual Kaspersky licensing information, so I can see that there's an actual driver that comes along with this. And of course we can continue on down the road and see other areas. So I can see that it has another NDIS filter on this. So we can step further and we can keep hitting F3 and it's going to show me all of the different items. This could be just as easy if we're trying to find out if someone had a copy of a specific piece of software, or what their memory requirements are, or a specific slot on their machine, or a specific operating system information. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some custom reports. So I want to come over and I want to create a query within LANDESK Management Suite. And this query that we're going to create is for workstations that have Adobe Acrobat on them. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over, we're give it a name first. There we go. And we're going to come down in this inventory structure and notice it's the exact same inventory structure that we have on an individual machine. So we're going to come down to software. We're going to come down to add more programs. We're going to come down to the actual name of the program. And when we come into the name, we're going to say where the name is like Adobe Acrobat. There we go. We'll click Insert, and like I said, I just want to see workstations. So we're going to go to the second to last column. We're going to come down to that type field, and I'm going to say where the actual type is not like server. Notice I can type in there, or I also can select from the possible values that we have within the actual database itself. So we're going to clean up the bottom a little bit. This is the actual columns that are going to get returned. So maybe I want to know the OS name, but I also want to know the actual service pack information as well. So maybe we want to come down to our actual service pack information. So we can come down, bring service pack, but on my service pack, I want that to be listed as SP because I don't want a large word at the top of something that only has one character within the actual data. So we can have that item selected, but I also want to know whose machine that is. So we'll come down, we'll bring over their full name. But I also want to know the actual name of the actual Adobe Acrobat that's coming back so that I can make sure that we're only pulling back on the specific bits of information that I want to pull back. And I also want to know the versioning information. So we're going to come into the same section, but this time we're going to say I want the name reflected. And I also want to know the publisher of that. And I want to know the version of that. So we can pull all that information back over. We'll click Save. Now we have our query, and we can run that report. So you can see that we have quite a few different versions of Adobe that are listed over here. Of course, we can click and sort on that. We could come in and clarify our actual query to say, just show me the ones that have Adobe Acrobat version 8 standard on them. But this is going to go out and give me the ability to target all those different machines within my organization. Now I could go a step further. Currently, this is a query. It's raw data. Of course, everyone likes to use raw data to be able to go out and kick out to Excel if they want. Of course, anywhere within my tool set, you can right-click on data and export as CSV. But for me, I want to click create a new report on this, and I want to come out and maybe see an actual pie chart based upon the name, so that we can see what is the largest saturation within the environment. Take a preview of those, and we can see what that is. It's probably going to be quite a bit of information that we're looking at here. So we can see what that is within the organization. Now I can see this is the largest one. So I could, of course, read over here on the right-hand side that that's Adobe Acrobat 9 Pro, but I also can drill into that and see the listing of all the different devices in the organization. So it's really easy to get this information out of LANDESK Inventory Management. Now this has just been a walkthrough of the basic version of LANDESK Inventory Management. In another video, we'll cover how to actually pull the information in from your vendors so that we can see what the warranty expiration dates are, what your purchase order information is, what software licensing that you're going out and purchasing. Once again, this has just been the actual first phase, going out and discovering the devices in your organization, and the very beginnings of software asset management. This has been Bo Wells with LANDESK Software reminding you, please go visit me at www.discovermanagesecure.com.